Okay, our objective today is going to be to focus on massing strategies. And what that means is, with the last couple of weeks, I showed you kind of the start to finish process for one precedent. Okay, but what you're going to have to do for your final is not going to be exactly the same thing as that. And so I want to show you, from a conceptual approach, how do we change the way that we think about each of our different types of buildings. Okay, so this is going to be our first study. It's a relatively easy study. And I'm going to show you how we might begin to diagram and then execute this particular structure. And then we're going to do another one, and I'm hoping to do probably 3 relatively different types of structures so that you understand how to accomplish this when I give you an unknown. Okay, you're going to be assigned one of these with a partner, and you'll have to diagram and execute the massing strategy. Okay, we're not going all the way through the building. So for instance, what you see here with all the structural trusses and belt trusses that are happening in there, you're not taking it to that level. All I'm going to be doing here is this main tower, the outer frame that goes around it, and these towers that are suspended within it. That's what a mass is. Okay. So the way that I like to define the delineation between massing and actual architecture is the point at which you can start actually developing architectural components. Okay, so that means floor plates, structure, facades, skin, interior and exterior environments. Once you get to that point where the next step is to do that, that's when you've moved out of massing. Does that make any sense? Anybody have any questions before I jump into this one? All right, so I'm going to pause for a moment and do a quick diagram of this for you, and then we'll get back into Grasshopper and develop it. All right, so right off the bat, I think what I'm going to do is just create a square, any size square. Doesn't really matter because right now it's purely just trying to get the essence of the algorithm. So I'll go here and let's do 100 feet by 100 feet. Wait, what? At 100 feet, comma, 100 feet. What? At 100 feet, comma, 100 feet. There we go. Okay. So to kind of try and develop this thing in real time, I know that this belt truss is going to be elevated in the sky. So I'm going to also move this 100 feet up. Maybe 100 is too much. I'll just do 50 feet up. Whoop, now I got to go. There we go. 50 feet in the sky. Okay, let's get to Grasshopper. Yes, I agree. So, like we said here in our diagram, first I'm going to subdivide it by 6 equal cells. Then I'm going to do a construct domain to make it a little bit smaller. Then I'm going to subtract it. Then I'm going to make another smaller, ever so slightly smaller, so that it fits inside of the cells, and that's going to account for the little gaps here. And then I'm going to extrude it by variables. Whoa, why did that open? All right. Let's put you on this side. We can just maximize top view. Pull you over. Okay. So I'm going to reference the curve and then just make it a surface. Okay, that's good enough for me. So from that, I'm going to use divide domain squared. And you know that that now comes with isotrim. Yeah, it's the Trinity. All right. And equal subdivision, so I'm just going to drop a panel in and make it 6. Plug that into both U and V. Clear enough so far, right? All right, so now we have construct domain squared, and that's located right here. And another isotrim. And these are going to be percentage values, so 0 to 1.00, make 4 of them. Make sure that the values, I mean, you could do one slider and then do, like I mean, you could do the math so that you only need one slider and then it just reduces on both sides either time. But I don't think that's really necessary for us here. Just make sure that your umin is the same number away from 0 as the max is away from 1. So I'm going to do 5% for now. And then reparameterize that. And that's what you should have. Okay, right now it's feeling a little thin, I think, compared to this. So perhaps we want to bump that up to 10%. So I'm going to do 0.1, 0.9, 0.1, 0.9. There we go. I think that feels a little more appropriate. Yeah? Okay. So now, with this, we can subtract that, and that's going to be one track where we separate it. So let's go to intersect, shape, and solid difference. We're going to plug the original one into the top and the second one into the bottom, and that's what we get for our frames. Why do you look so shocked, Yvonne? Okay. Well, anyway, let's get going. So we have this one again. I told you we did the subtract, now we're going to construct a main again, and we're going to make one a little bit smaller. So just copy and paste this thing, move it down a little bit, plug this surface in. So we made, sort of an inception of surfaces right now. But I just want to reduce it ever so slightly smaller so that I have a tiny little gap in between these two elements. So I'm probably only going to increase this by 2% at this stage. So I'll do a 0.12 and a 0.88, 0.12 and 0.88. Oh wait, sorry. That's right, because this was the full-size surface. So I want to change this to 0.02 and 0.98. There we go. That's what I wanted. 0.02, 0.98. Okay, so now that is ever so slightly smaller than the frame itself. So if I turn off all this extra geometry, you'll really see that we have that slight gap that I was really shooting for. Not too bad so far, right? Right? All right. So let me see how we're doing on time for this video, and maybe we'll just finish it up here. It'll probably just take a couple minutes. Yeah, we'll just finish it up here? Okay. So we need to do 2 extrudes. We need to do one extrude that's going to be the frame itself, and that part is going to be super easy. We just extrude in the Z direction by one value. But this one's going to be a little bit different. But let's start with the frames. So the frames here are all one singular value deep, so I'm probably just going to choose a generic like 10 feet or something for now. So I'm going to go to Surface, Freeform, Extrude, and then I'm going to need the Z direction, so I'm going to say Vector, Vector, Unit Z. Plug that in, plug this in, and then choose your value for where it's going to go in the Z direction. Remember that I already moved it up in the sky, so I'm going to drop it down 10 feet. So I'm going to just drop a panel on there for -10. There's our frame. Simple enough so far, right? All right. So the other thing that I'm going to use here is extrude again. And I actually can borrow Unit Z as well. So I'll copy and paste this and put it down here. I'll plug these surfaces in, which right now are going to also go down -10. That's not really what I want here. what I'm going to do here is define how far below and how far above these things are going to extrude. So there will be technically 2 extrusions that I'm going to join together again afterwards. But the important part here is to understand that this is a singular list, okay? And I'm going to modify to create the center shaft later, but this singular list needs a certain number of extrusions in the positive and negative direction. But let's start with the negative extrusions first. Okay, what you see here is that we have some that are 10 feet and below, some that are not quite 10 feet, but I don't really see any that are pretty much 0 feet. I guess maybe this one is less than half of that. So let's do a range of numbers that are negative 5 feet to, say, negative 40 feet. Does that sound good to you? Probably. All right, we'll start with that. So let's go to Set, Sequence, and we're going to do Range. And we need to establish the domain for that range. So let's go to Math, Domain, Construct Domain. And then we just give this thing its 2 numbers. So I can copy this down. Let's do negative 5 and negative 45. Plug those both in. Then you just need to know how many of them to generate. So we just need to get the list length, and it'll define how many we're going to create. So let's go to Set, List, List Length. And we measure that off of how many surfaces there are. So I'll plug that into N, and this is what it generates. Notice how they're in order. They start from the lowest number and they go to the highest number. Do we want that? No. What do we want? Yeah, we want to jitter it up a little bit, right? So I'll get rid of that and insert a jitter. Also under Set, Sequence, and Jitter. We'll plug this list in, and then the jitter value is 0 to 1.0. So let's go with 0 to 1.0. Plug that into J. And in fact, if you want to see the difference, you could either plug a panel in, or at this stage, you can actually plug this in here. And now, as we're looking at the underside of our structure, as we change our jitter value and our jitter strength, you'll see that it changes the extrusions underneath. And now that, as a massing, looks very close to that. Yeah, right?
Also, if
Not
you go
hard.
the opposite way, like going to the Y direction, not the
Yeah.
Z direction.
Exactly, exactly. So here's really the key, is that when I want to do the above ones, I can copy and paste this whole thing.
And then change that.
Well, so we started we started the extrusions. Each one is currently at 0, okay, and they're all extruding down. So just make sure that you're retaining that when you do this. But as long as you change these values from negative to positive, you should be good to go. So just delete that. Delete that.
Is it like a mirrored kind of?
No. Well, it would be theoretically mirrored-ish, but the order, once you jitter it, it kind of shuffles the order. So the short answer is no. It won't be the same. But yeah, but it looks like we're getting, yeah, we are kind of getting the same relationship. So you might want to change the jitter value on the top side to something else. Okay, so that's how you're going to get it to change in the above direction and below direction. And the last thing you need to do at the end of that is just go to Intersect, Solid Union, and plug both of these in. Okay, so that made 36 closed B reps. You can turn all of this stuff off except for this, and now there's your mass.
Very
Yeah, no, I'll go back. I just wanted to close the thought there. So anyway, not too much, and that's really the entire mass for that structure. And it's very, very simple. So let's recap real quick for your sake. All we did was take subdivisions of a plane, and we found through that subdivision the extrusion for the band that goes around this mass. And then down here, we just reduced the size of each of those cells a little bit more. 2% more, that's all we did. And then we did this operation where we defined a new set of numbers and jittered them to create the extrusion that's going to go down and up. And then we join those extrusions together. Is that clear?
So that's solid union?
Yeah, solid union. Any other questions before I stop this and come around and make sure that you guys are caught up? Moved up, yes. All right.